Something out. Top.
I'm using the viewfinder, you know. Captain, it's the 26th of May, 2004, and we've just gotten from the airport, and
Cardboard is still smoldering.
cardboard is still smoldering. That's where all the boxes and everything else was burnt from, you know, and we're going to go into the villa here at Zabrico. Against the blue, powder blue Caribbean sky. Palm trees in the background. My word. My word. My word, my word, my word. My word. Captain?
I know.
Captain.
I know.
You've done it, you've done it.
Last night was all junk and stuff.
You've done it.
And stuff.
My word. Thank God.
It's all here. Ta-da! Ta-da! John, where are you? Ta-da! Ta-da!
My word.
Ta-da!
My word.
Hold on. This one here. Ta-da! Yeah!
Wow. Captain, God bless you, my brother. God bless you.
Yeah, boy. Ta-da!
My word.
There goes. Ta-da! Yeah, Christmas.
Yes. And I saw you change your chandeliers and everything else.
Yeah.
My word. This is wonderful. Can you put this on? Can you put the lights on?
Yes. There you go.
Unless Dominic took lights.
I don't know. Dominic himself.
Dominic meow. Take lights.
Well, maybe no.
My word.
All here.
My word.
All here. It's all here, my friend. And we have the deep freeze right here.
Dude, that's when we'll slaughter a goat and a pig and we'll put it in here.
So I was thinking we would put this
Yes.
over here.
Over here. Okay. We've just arrived at Zabrico. The cardboard boxes still smoldering. Honey, this is your home. Some more coming in. Captain just did the tada, but because he's a better cameraman than I am, I think my battery was off. You turn it the other way first. Close it, yeah. Close it. It's supposed to open like
that how it's fitting
Let me
onto
put
the
book
rear?
sign in of in many ways, really blessed. We're born on the country.
Yeah, I think they have to
Dominican resident in Canada. But to write,
I thought it was not properly done.
place and we are. We were born on
Okay.
culture. And they're not ordinary people. On a family of all mankind. It's only who I can talk about Josh the formal luncheon of this book in Canada, country which make it really sad. Thank you. God bless you. Yeah,
Okay.
It's on now. Now it's on.
A cleaning cassette.
Okay. Yeah, it needs to be clean. She does good, man. Oh, it looks wonderful, man. Yeah. Doctor, well, we're not splendid there. Huh? Come on. I hope they're not giving us a... You see it? You feel it?
Yes.
I
No.
just said we all live and we came of age under his rule.
Yeah.
That's the type of camera that I saw on TV that actually records voice.
Yes, but
No, just serious.
I'm just standing here next to a Dominican resident in Canada. Who wants to be given his rightful due?
that's
Right,
right.
Honorable Justice Andrea.
You
I'm
must
just
not,
thinking.
Christian, you mustn't laugh at the book. Remember what the Bible said.
Exactly. That's not.
That's right.
Don't forget the flyers, the paper. Oh, I need to go get the.
Here we are getting ready for today's date, of course, January 29th, 2005 at the Snail Grove Community Centre in Brampton, Ontario. We have over here the family of Right Honourable Justice William Winston Andre, who in true mother's fashion first to be called simply a Dominican resident in Canada. And we have Dr. Peter St. John from the State University of New York at Buffalo. Criminologist par excellence and a nation builder. Mr. Andre,
How you doing?
just wanted to get something on the record before we saw the crowds pouring in. We're here, sir, with regard to a book which will be launched this afternoon here in Brampton, and that is Edward Oliver LeBlanc and the Struggle to Transform Dominica. Before getting into the details, what would you say inspired you to write that particular book?
Well, Edward Oliver LeBlanc, as you know, has led a very illustrious life. And no other Dominican perhaps exemplifies or personifies perhaps the indomitable strength of the Dominican character. Because after all, here's a man from extremely humble beginnings who educated himself, who by the sheer force of his personality achieved the highest political office in Dominica. But not only that, he did not do so for self-gratification. He did not do so to raise his station in life. He did so for one avowed purpose, which is to make a difference in the lives of Dominicans. So that to understand anything about Dominica, one has to understand everything about Edward Oliver LeBlanc. And that in essence is my inspiration in writing this book.
What would you say was his legacy? He passed last year, October, while you were in the midst of gathering your final thoughts and your final chapters on his life. And he suddenly, twinkling of an eye, was gone, leaving us before you had an opportunity to launch the book in Dominica or the ideas in Canada. In light of that, what would you say would be his enduring legacy?
His enduring legacy is one of fundamentally changing the nature of Dominican society from one with a distinct elitist past, from one which clung tenaciously to its colonial roots, to one which at least embraced a system based on merit, one in which Dominicans embraced their heritage. Dominicans stopped regarding themselves as poor carbon copies of their English counterparts, to recognizing themselves as being independent people, proud people, people with a past, people with a future, and people who have the wherewithal to take their destiny into their own hands. Edward LeBlanc is largely responsible for that fundamental change in the lives and in the thinking of Dominicans, with the result that today we can take pride in being an independent nation, a people with a distinct culture, and a people who have the wherewithal to succeed on their own.
And how do you think Dominicans should remember him?
Dominicans should remember LeBlanc. I know that it's become almost cliche to regard him as the father of the nation, but I think Dominicans have an obligation to delve beyond the cliche, to delve beyond the easy phrase. I think Dominicans have an obligation to understand the nature of his life. Dominicans have an obligation to understand the spirit of giving, of making a contribution to the island with little expectation of benefit or reward, motivated or actuated by one sole consideration, an obsession to change what was wrong within the Dominican community. And certainly it was not an easy task. And certainly it is not a task which is ended. In fact, and indeed, it's an ever-going, ever-continuing process. But certainly Edward LeBlanc has started that journey. And I think it is our mission, that is to say the mission of this generation, to ensure that his policies certainly bear fruition in the foreseeable future.
And how do you think ultimately that which he taught as far as self-reliance, distinctly Dominican cultural profile, how would that could that have been said to have impacted or propelled the foundation of Pontcase Press and the literature that you in fact have contributed to over the years?
Edward LeBlanc, and one of the distinctive achievements of Edward LeBlanc is that he engendered in the 60s a literature not only about Dominica but by Dominicans. Edward LeBlanc, you may recall, initiated the process where Dominicans started writing about their experiences themselves, their community, not longing for snow and mistletoe, not longing to embrace the European experience. And Edward LeBlanc started certain magazines, DS Dominica. In 72, as you recall, he authored, or he caused to be authored, this book on Dominica's history, which was perhaps the first text of its kind.
Is that aspects of Dominican history?
Precisely. And it was in that book, as you may recall, there were contributions from noted Dominican historians, Dr. Cecil Goodrich, Dr. Baromi at New York University, and Father Prosmans, you may recall. We have tried to taking that step to the next stage. We have the logical culmination of that process was to create an indigenous press, which, as you know, was founded in 1972 with Gabriel Christian and myself. And I'm proud to say that since 1972, 92, I'm sorry, in the 13 years which have passed, we have produced some 12 books, which averages one book per year. And we've done that without seeking any type of financial contribution from any type of lending agency. We've done that without having at our fingertips research material from the great universities or the great research centers in North America or in the Caribbean. We've done that primarily because we believe that it is intrinsically right to pursue that goal. And most of our texts, virtually all of them, have had a Dominican focus. We've chronicled the lives, the achievements, the great changes in the Dominican community since the attainment of universal adult suffrage in 1951. They've explored the Dominican personality. They've tried to shed light on the cultural development of Dominica. What is it to be a Dominican? And it seems to me that through our efforts, we have furthered the discourse on being Dominican, on being independent, and being a proud people.
Where would you place on the hierarchy of, elements which are important to the foundation of a durable nation state? Where would you place literature, Mr. Justice Andre?
Oh, very much at the pinnacle of priority. It should be. Why? Because people are defined not only by what they do, how they earn a living, but by their ideas, their creative potential, their definition of their own personality, how they see themselves, how others see them. And literature is basically a portrait in which the world can stare at a people, can appreciate that people, and can get a sense of inherent dignity and worth of that people. So with respect to literature, and given the fact that we're a small community with very little resources, literature is perhaps the greatest potential. Literature and culture, and obviously when I say culture, I use it in a way which encompasses not only the creative writing, but also song, dance, graphic arts. The culture of the island is perhaps the single most important element in its history, in terms of Dominica being defined by the international community, and perhaps Dominica gaining the respect that it deserves from the international community. And I'm sad to say that it's perhaps the most overlooked aspect of the Dominican experience, and hopefully we can change that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andre, Justice Andre rather. I will get back to you during the course of this afternoon's events. We're also here with another learned Dominican. Dr. Peter St-Jean is an eminent criminologist and professor of criminology at the State University of New York, Buffalo. Of course, he had his camera rolling. Dr. St-Jean, you made a very arduous trip through the Canadian snow-bounded streets to be here with us this afternoon. And I know that it was important to you. And if in a nutshell you can tell us why you believed it was important to be here at the launching of this book, we'd like to have that for the record.
Well, I guess for two-in-one, to support a personal friend, Justice Andre Irvin, and to be a part of the legacy of the book. As I said in the back, that the book is bound to arouse both praises and perhaps controversies, because some people are going to come forth and say that's not the way it was, and I have some things that can prove otherwise. It's almost inevitable that something that has so carefully unearthed so many details will not be somehow be seen with some level of controversy, whether it is good or bad controversy, positive or negative that is. So, but I mean, it's just to be, just to spend the day with my friend and spend the overnight with him and to meet someone like you and to, continue to praise his work and be thankful that at least somebody was able to do that work. Unfortunately, I had a last sentence that of course we had to edit out, which was saying that hopefully Mr. LeBron would allow us to celebrate his life while he was still living. And 3 days after I wrote that line, of course, he passed away. So, and of course to meet the family members. That one of the granddaughters I understand is a student at the university where I teach, and I long to be able to be a mentor to people like her. So that's why I'm here.
Well said, Dr. St-Jean, and just on the point about the responses that the book's publication might elicit, would you say that's exactly the idea, that the ferment that it may cause might actually lead to the production of new literature, new books for those who might have contrary views?
I think more importantly, it should not so much about the contents, but also the form. That it is, I believe, a compelling methodological piece for those of us who want to take it to another level. Because we can always bicker about the facts, but how do you verify the facts? And I think Justice Andre has kind of left trails that any person who would want to reinvestigate what he investigated, or would want to figure out how to investigate the life of, or to tell the life of the great Gabriel Christian, will at least have some instrument that they can follow. And I think if anybody followed the kind of methodological protocols that Justice Andre used in that book, that person will be writing a songbook. So it is even beyond whether or not you like the contents. You can think about the form also.
And indeed, maybe I should take this opportunity, Dr. Stenjai, to congratulate you on your work in also trying to chart the course of our island society's handling of the issue of crime, how communities can work collaboratively with the law enforcement agencies to curtail criminal activity, and your work with the Academy of Arts and Sciences, the Dominica Academy of Arts and Sciences, and the various symposia, which you've tried to use some of the methods that you've learned in your professional work to give a voice to the concerns in Dominica we have, and perhaps point a way to some of the solutions which can be fashioned to make our country a better place. And also, in addition, most recently opening doors at your university to at least one Dominican. I always say half a loaf is better than none. At least one Dominican who otherwise would not have had an opportunity. Is she studying criminology, by the way?
She's actually doing a PhD in sociology with a concentration in criminology. Hopefully she'll be our first female criminologist.
What's her name, by the way?
Her name is Daisy Henderson, who's not here with us for a variety of reasons. But she typifies the Dominica brain. A 4.0 undergraduate student, so far as 4.0 students on the department, and somebody that when you have white students and Asian students coming up to you and telling you that this black girl is a role model to them, that a black girl that they met a month ago, that has to send shivers to your spine, especially when you contribute perhaps to that person being there and basically have gambled your early reputation on doing some, not necessarily backroom deals, because she didn't need many backroom deals, but I had to rally for her. And basically her failure would be my failure, her success, hopefully it's just her success. But I had to keep my fingers crossed, and it just couldn't be, I just couldn't have found a more perfect student. Hopefully someone, like I told her, part of her responsibility is to make us proud.
And as a matter of fact, wouldn't you say, Doctor, that effort by yourself is in line with Premier Leblanc's legacy of opening doors of opportunity, educational opportunity to others?
Yes, well, yes, by all means. I mean, it is those of us who have concerns. Yeah, Leblanc, clearly from what I've read. I mean, of course, I never met him personally. Well, not of course, but I never met him personally. May have heard his voice on the radio when I was a little boy, but from what I've read, it seems that he would want to do the same. And I think maybe what's in that effort that is probably most reflective of his legacy, as I understand it, is the fact that I'm not looking for praise from this, that I will take the blame but not the glory, And I think the same way that that seemed to have been his spirit, that you'd find out later on that he was the one who made that move, but he would not go tooting his own horn.
Thank you so much, Doctor. We'll be seeing you during the course of this evening's event. I'm sure you'll maybe have a chance to say a few words, and later on certainly we'll continue the discussion.
Right, and now you have to return the favor.
Thank you. Okay, Mammy, you're here in Brampton, Ontario with the wife of Justice, the wife of the Dominican resident in Canada, Miss Andre, and the daughter, Miss Kathy. How are you doing? Tell us how important this afternoon is to you, Kathy.
This afternoon is very important. My husband is launching his second series of his autobiographies, and this one is on Edward Lipplar, and for the first time in his launching in Canada. It's a huge event. He'll have like 150 people here, cross-section, all different people from everywhere. And Mr. Lipplar's family will be attending the function, and that in itself says a lot. And on top of that, we we have friends from Washington, and we have friends from Rochester, and we have friends from Buffalo, and without the help of Mrs. Christian, I don't know how I would be able to do this. So I thank you guys for coming, and I really appreciate the help. Over and out.
Okay, thank you. Melissa,
I know, but
would you like to say something about this event?
then we can all enjoy it.
like it in the watch.
No, we have some more.
Yeah, my dad is watching his
At least you
book
can enjoy it
today,
like everybody else.
and we have a lot of people coming from, not only from Canada, but we have a lot of people coming from America and other places, and it's going to be a really big event, and I hope it turns out a success.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's good to meet you again. And you're a wonderful young lady in the true tradition of your dad and mom and dad.
Thank you.
Here we have a visitor from resident in the United States. It's Christian.
I'm just ignoring Gabriel.
This is Christian. I mean, why are you?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your visit to Canada?
I am here to help Urban launch his book.
And any notes on Mr. Andre?
I think that I hope he does very well today with the sales and people come out and support, because I think it's a very important book. I think it's like all the others. This one is well done, and I'm just want to say congratulations again, Mr. Andre. Job well done. You've outdid yourself this time.
Thank you. Bianca, good afternoon. How are you?
Good.
Wanted you to give us a few comments on today. What's going on today here in Brampton?
My dad's having book launching.
Okay, and what is the book about?
Edward Oliver LeBlanc.
Who is he?
He's a Dominican chief prime minister.
And how important do you think it is for your dad to have written a book like that?
Very important.
And what are you going to be doing today?
Handing out, giving the books to people.
And what are they supposed to be giving you?
Money.
And where are you going to put it?
I don't know. In this bed.
That's right. Well, Bianca, it's so wonderful to see you.
Thank you.
And I look forward to having a great day.
Okay.
I just want to mention a few, thank you. I just want to mention that we did get a few emails. One came from Mr. Leglas, one of his other sons, Einstein Leglas, who's not with us this evening, but who's in Arizona. As luck would have it, Einstein was also a former teacher of mine at the Dominica Grammar School. And he sends congratulations, quote, "Congratulations, Irving. This is a fine work on Daddy. You'll be very proud." And that is from my son in Arizona, who sends his best wishes to all of us gathered here this evening. And from another famous Dominican, who in fact was the designer of the Dominican flag, Alvin Bully, who is a consultant for UNESCO in Jamaica. He sent another message of congratulations. He says, "Excellent work, Irving." He should have gone on to say, "I have taught you well." So I taught Mr. Andre. And we also have a congratulatory note from Mr. Aurelius Gordon. Mr. Aurelius Gordon is a Dominican author, sociologist from Brunei, or he's in Brunei. And again, Justice Andre, excellent work. Keep up the good job. Now, we are graced here this evening to have in our presence a distinguished Caribbean intellectual and industrial sociologist, a Dr. Odida Famina, who I'll introduce to you, and he will serve as our moderator this evening. Dr. Famina is an industrial sociologist by profession, who obtained his PhD from York University. He has been employed in both academia and international organizations. He has been a consultant for the United Nations. He has also served as a columnist for Share magazine. He is currently a lecturer at Humboldt College, School of Continuing Studies. He's also a consultant to various boards of education in the Greater Toronto area. He is the author of 2 books. So Irving, there's somebody who's catching up with you. One of the books, of course, is All Things Considered, Can We Live Together, which is a history or a study on Canadian race relations. And then the other book is on the Guyanese mine workers, the mine workers of Guyana. He's married and has 2 children. He's married and has 4 children and 3 grandchildren.
I'm paying for this.
That's right. So without much further ado, this gentleman has an illustrious resume, and his work over the years commends him to us. Let's welcome Dr. Odida Famina.
Here. One of the things we do is to share stories and tell stories. And the opportunity of a book launch always gives us this time to do just that. A very good friend, mutual friend of ours, Dr. Hilroy Thomas is not here. He's represented here by his wife, Clementine Thomas. Dr. Thomas tells a number of stories, and had it not been for the fact that I know him well, I would have thought, in fact, he was better storytelling than anything, as I know he can do. He tells a story of this friend of his, and I believe it's a Dominican because that's the only person that comes to mind, who would have gone to a party, bring your own booze. And this fellow took the equivalent of these wines that you can buy in No Friends, the one to season meat. And in his winter coat, he dressed up with this wine in a nice bottle and took it in and give it to the bartender, and of course you drink what you bring. And then he left and he put his coat down and came back. His suggestion to me is that there might have been a momentary lapse in his own memory as to what he brought. So he left, he turned to the bartender and they showed the glass and just pour me a double scotch. And the fella did pour what he brought. They said, "Shh, this is not it." He said, "This is what you brought, this is scotch." And I use that perhaps, this is one of the many raconteur, one of the many kinds of stories you hear from within the island and within the whole question of Dominica. Dr. Thomas for me then represents a starting point in that I met him first and I would have met Judge later on. And then when you meet the judge, you meet somebody with energy. You're not quite sure where the energy comes from. And I become frightened, if not jealous, as to how one man can do so much with so little time. And when I told my wife I was coming here, she asked me to ask him, I suspect it was a private question, but it doesn't matter anymore, she's not here. He asked me to ask him where he get the time from. This book here that we're celebrating today, and the book that we are here to buy, and I said buy, I expect you to buy it. I mean, I see some hands are empty. Let us believe at the end of the day, after all the work, the books must be sold. Kathy, I want to begin with you first. I want to say congratulations to you in terms of giving him that support in the time to do the work. It is so often we begin with the man and the author forgetting that there is a woman who does the things, you know? Right.
Yes, yes.
Please, to those who haven't seen you, please come. I have some to do with you. It doesn't come out. Don't be ashamed. If you come this far, that's fine. See how much you like. This work we're celebrating this evening is the latest in a series of works about the persons who have shaped Dominica's social, economic, literary, and political history over the last 50 years. In 1951, Dominica, then a colony of England, was granted universal adult suffrage. In subsequent years, the rudimentary steps towards a Westminster-style government were taken on the island. Amidst a legacy of colonial neglect and near excruciating poverty, Dominicans grappled to achieve a modicum of self-sufficiency. Those who lacked the resources, or those for whom the future appeared bleak and precarious, migrated in droves, seeking a livelihood for themselves and their families. In this series, Irving Andrea has chronicled the lives and events of Dominicans at home and in the diaspora. For example, in Distant Voices, one of his books here that you must buy, published in 1999, he traces the development of creative writing in Dominica, in the island within, the same year, 1999. You think by now you would have been tired. He portrays how a group of migrants maintain a sense of coherence and unity in their adopted land, even while they cling to their island identity. Along with attorney Gabriel Christian, are you here still? Yeah. Who introduced me? That's it. He co-authored In Search of Eden, again on display here. This was in the year 2002. An exhaustive study of the formative events in Dominica's history. In the first of two biographies, Franklin Andrew Barron, The Man, the Myth, and the Mission, published in 2003, Andrea painstakingly retraces the swirling political controversies and the travels of Dominica's first chief minister, as he sought to make Dominica a self-governing entity. Barron, however, was severely hampered by the perception that the main beneficiary of his policies was a narrow group of established families ensconced in the island's capital. Enter the book and the work in question. In this work, he had left a sting of elitism and favoritism when in 1957 he was denied a scholarship to study medicine. Despite having met without the benefit of a secondary education the requirements for admission to university in England. In 1957 and then in 1961, LeBlanc defeated two of the most powerful politicians in Dominica. During the 1960s, he systematically dismantled all the bastions of privilege which had hitherto impeded the progress of working-class Dominicans, and forever changed the island's social and economic landscape. By the time he voluntarily resigned from office in 1974, Edward Oliver LeBlanc had left through his policies, leadership, and his legendary honesty and altruism an indelible mark on his island and the people. Edward Oliver LeBlanc and the struggle to transform Dominica, published this year, being launched today, provides a thorough history of the life and times of the main architect of the Commonwealth of Dominica. This is part of the story. I didn't write the book, and I don't have no responsibility to tell you the whole story. You have to buy the book. You have to read it. And Irving is going to come and share some of those thoughts with us and help us to understand this ongoing experience and experiments in one of those islands that we so now come to understand and to love, Dominica. My task today is a simple one. My task is to call other persons, other individuals, to come and share with me this moment of gladness, this moment of happiness, this moment of celebration, to say to Irvin, to say to Kathy, thank you. Thank you for bringing Dominica abroad. When I go to Boston, I meet all of those, illegals and illegals, some hiding and some and I meet some of them here too. Don't bother, you don't have a cornerstone, I meet Guyanese hiding and that's illegal too. Hey, if you get out, you get out. We all know. But don't bother, we're not going back home. So my task is an easy one. My task is to ask others to come and say those things that must be said on an occasion like this. We want to extend our congratulations to him for the energy, the work, the dedication, the commitment, and perhaps more importantly, the willingness to share publicly with all of us these experiences. For those of us who would get into the text, and I hope you do so quickly, the text for me relies primarily on a lot of useful primary resources. Primary means that he has the first shot at them. He is giving us things first that we did not get before. And more importantly, when the next set of works would come out of this, those works will rely on what he has done. And the best we can hope for is to add some other statements. So we are in fact fortunate today, not because we have been invited, I don't feel special, I feel glad that I'm here, but I think we are witnesses to a launching of again another important work telling us about Dominica and telling us about those struggles. I am going to invite now Professor Peter St. John to come and share with us his thoughts. Are you here? Yeah, please, come. Join us. Please welcome him.
Well, just to be sure, Irvin has signed a paid for copy of the
Cash.
And you can read in the back my commentaries on the book. It was indeed an honor and a privilege to be able to review this book, Edward Leblanc and the Struggles to Transform Dominica. And when Justice Andrea asked me to be one of the reviewers for the book and to provide my comments, I was flattered, of course, because I was for a long time a fan of his work, and I still am. But I'm going to be very brief in respect to those of you, you're standing and you have strong legs, and I cheat every now and then and sit here, so you might not be able to do that. So I will just be very brief in a minute. And as I've indicated on the back of the book, that unearthing, interpreting this kind of space-taking details that Justice Andrea has done. I don't say this here, but part of what I would have said if I had more space was that this book also creates some sort of methodological standard. What I mean by that is when you do research, you want to leave tracks so that other people can do what you did and maybe come up with the same results that you came up with. We call that reliability in research. I was very pleased to see, and I know Irvin had some graduate school training, so I mean, it's not just a lawyer. He has some academic research training there that came to work. But when you read this book, besides the content, and I say this book is bound to stir up some controversy in terms of people praising what he did and some people having alternative explanations to what happened. You will hear alternative interpretations of what happened. But beyond that, look at the work as a piece of art. The way that this man goes on like a bold tour guide and basically gets very close to intruding the private life of Mr. Leblanc. Maybe to some degree, some might say that he did. But if he did with taste. And I think for younger scholars like myself, Irvin, I'm younger than you. Younger scholars like myself who try to learn a little bit from everything and from everyone. Irvin, your book serves for me as a model. Hopefully we can have a similar launch in here sometime next year with my first book called Pockets of Crime, that asks why is it that in black poor neighborhoods some areas are high and low on crime. I hope that I have learned some of your style, and it'll be integrated in some of my own work. So, and reading, I never met Premier LeBlanc, but I learned some of his life. He was speaking to his son, he wasn't here. And some of the things that I try to live in my own life, as I do for my son here and my little daughter that's over in this chair that probably can't understand what I'm saying yet, is this issue of integrity. What sort of person are you when you are a person living and breathing? And I was able to get, as a reviewer, some examples from the life of Mr. LeBlanc. Some things I strive for in my own, which is to try to be very unselfish with whatever little that I have, and try to be, maybe take the blame for the bad that came out of my work, but forget about the credits. And I hope that you're able to enjoy the work and enjoy, if nothing else, even if you don't like the content, which you should enjoy, but try to enjoy the art of this work, by this great work here by Judge Sandra.
Well said.
Mr. Pamino?
As we move along, thank you very much, Dr. Senja. As we move along, let me also recognize his wife, please, Dr. Sarin. Dr. Sarin Saint-Jean, he's also here visiting.
And by the way, don't ask me for medical advice.
Please, welcome. We have a number of individuals here that is fitting and in keeping with the spirit of what we do today. And I'm just going to call your names out. You might hold back your applause until I'm finished. We have Justice Hugh Atwood. We have Justice and Mrs. Marvin Morton. Justice Nancy Kastner. Justice of the Peace and Mrs. Pryor Bonus. Justice of the Peace and Mrs. John Gary. Mr. and Mrs. Ewart LeBlanc and family from Rochester, New York. Miss Ellen LeBlanc, representing the LeBlanc family from Arizona. Attorney at law, of course, we have Gabriel Christian and his wife Joan from Maryland. We have Professor, we already introduced him. Mr. Kendrick Sylvester, acting president of Cicero Cultural Club. Mrs. Lucia Stewart, president of the Commonwealth of Dominica Association, Hamilton chapter, accompanied by her husband. Miss Athenia Benjamin, president of the Commonwealth of Dominica Association, Toronto chapter. Mr. Mike Kong, president of the Kiwanis Cultural Club in Brampton. Mr. Ron Fanfare, journalist from Share Magazine. Dr. Faye Samuels, principal of St. Augustine Secondary School. Melissa Bianca Andrea from Brampton. Sorry? She's there, Drew? I'm just following the instructions. Miss Angela Johnson, Vice President of the United Achievers Appeal, and Mr. Frank Watty, economist. Please give them all a hand of applause.
If you force me up for any reason, I'd like to do this. This is the record.
We are going to move forward quickly so we can get into the business of buying and shopping books. And we're going to ask Mr. Instar LeBlanc to come and join us and to offer a few words, please.
Ewart. You can see it?
Oh, yeah. Please give him a hand of applause, please. Let's try it again. Let's try it again. After all, is this again, please?
Here. Very well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. If my voice does not telescope too much, just can you hear me in the back?
Yes.
Okay, I'll try to.
Bring the podium closer.
Okay. This is not the day for long speeches. It is a day of reading. But after all, we have a book. However, some things have to be said. When I was in Dominica this past November, attending to my father's funeral, in typical soundbite fashion, I was asked by a reporter whether I would be willing to tell them 3 words that best describe my father. I responded with integrity, character, tough, excellence, philanthropic, smart, intelligent, By the way, he always made the distinction between smart and intelligent, and he selected a combination of both in his party. Loyal, patriotic, enigmatic. I was asked for 3 things, right? So the young reporter from the Government Information Service gave me the surprised look as if I had forgotten my kindergarten math. You see, you can describe a good man in 3 words. You need a book to describe a great man. And folks, the book is here. Edward Oliver LeBlanc and the Struggle to Transform Dominica by Irvin Andre is here. This book is not only about EO, as many call him, and Dominica. It is about humanity, character, ethics, and all the words I used before, and has implications that transcend Dominica. So for people here who are non-Dominicans, don't feel disenfranchised. You can get a lot of the book also. You will understand what I'm talking about when you read it. My father passed away when the book was nearly completed, and while his initials EOL does not mean end of life, I might suggest equal opportunity learner.
Yes, equal opportunity learner.
That's cute. This book will be a catalyst in keeping his memory and legacy up front and close. As I knew him, he was a super dad who never wore his heart on his sleeve. He wore it right here where it belongs. You always knew where you stood with him, even when the news was bad. He always drew a line in the sand, so he never had to keep walking on the edge. You will understand that once you read the book. Before I say what I'm really up here to say, bear with me a while I share a short tribute that was done by we have so many justices here tonight. I think they will resonate with this. But this was written by Justice Odell Adams, who was a very close friend of my father. And the message really epitomizes who my father was. So that those of you who do not know him, before you read the book, you can get a little bit of insight. So just bear with me while I read that short tribute. By the way, it was presented at the church when we eulogized him, and we're not just eulogizing him, but I think this is important. And here it is. The death of my true and noble friend, Edward LeBlanc, has taken an inevitable place among the milestone memories of my own life. It has become so when I recall the first time we met, and that indefinable spiritual ingredient made itself company and eventually would generate the energy that every now and then leads to a lasting and fulfilling friendship between two people. I shall always remember the visits to his home, at once aristocratic and simple, reflecting the temperament of a man who would himself with equal appropriateness be as described. I shall remember too the idyllic setting of peace and quiet in which we would often sit at his home as he took us into the several areas of learning for our mutual enjoyment. Edward LeBlanc was by any standard a learned man and enlightened by the profundity of his voracious reading. I remember confident that it was that knowledge which made him the kind of human he turned out to be, and would have made him the person I eventually had the good fortune to know and immensely respect. How well do I remember our discussion of theology, his masterful acquaintance with the Christian Bible, putting my own lesser knowledge of the good book to shame. I believe I came to appreciate the ideals which he pursued for sake of country, and sometimes I detected an aura of sadness and muted anger, anchored, I suspect, in the belief that his country had somehow not answered the call to which, as his leader, he had once dared to summon it. Not for Edward LeBlanc, the path of the corrupt, but rather the straight and narrow way that would serve his country best. And now, even now, I can see him taking his seat in that place of many mansions, eminent amongst the company of good souls like himself. May the service of Edward LeBlanc in his country warm the hearts of his loving wife and family, and sustain him as they ponder the new journey upon which I know he has now fearlessly and studiously embarked. Farewell, my friend, and let the poet speak. death must not find us thinking that we die. And I found this very consoling at the time when we were wrestling with the sadness of his death. Anyway, on behalf of the LeBlanc family, I spoke with my mother, Irving, last night, and she asked me to convey thanks and congratulations to you. She has not read the book yet, but I sent her a copy. Okay. But on behalf of the family, I want to extend congratulations and thanks to you, Irvin, for a masterful piece of work that I found to be fact-based and well-written. It is indeed a heroic effort. It is indeed a heroic effort about a heroic man. I suspect that once you start reading, you will find it as difficult to put the book down as I did. Thank you very much.
Before I invite the person you really came here today to meet, to talk with, and to pay the tributes, I want to add two small comments to those already made by Professor Peter St. Jean. And it's really within the realm of the quality of the work that we have been given this afternoon. One of my professional background is in strategic studies. So I
Yes, yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Green. A round of applause for Dr. Green, please. And I will also, understanding that we stand, will endeavor to be brief. In 1450, a gentleman by the name of Frank Johannes Gutenberg developed the first printing press. Prior to that, most popular book was the Holy Bible, but it was in fact confined to a few monks in monasteries who would pen in their own hands on parchment the words in that good book. And so knowledge and its diffusion in society was at a very low ebb. And it's for that reason Europe then was said to be the Dark Ages. 40 years later, 40 years after the Gutenberg press, there were 250 titles in Europe in circulation, and there are in fact, by many estimates, about 20,000 presses, most of them small, some mid-size. In 1492, an Italian gentleman, who some of us may know, had been able to, on parchment paper, which had been printed upon by Gutenberg presses, obtain certain charts of the seas. And so in 1492, that gentleman, who we've heard about, launched out on his great mission, which is why we're here. Because we know that his mission, Christopher Columbus's mission, led to the conquest of what's considered the New World, and which brings us to the Americas and Canada and the entire history, some of it glorious, most of it sudden, that we in fact know. Why did I start with this story of Frank Johannes Gutenberg and the Gutenberg press? It is because I believe by that diffusion of knowledge, dispersal of information, that great societies were built. And I cannot say it with enough modesty how privileged I am as a Dominican, our own family and our friends and all of the folks in Canada to be associated with someone who may not be Columbus, but who by his exemplary conduct and who by his diligent effort in making sure that the history of an entire people and the history of a great leader would not be in fact rendered mute, has brought us here this afternoon to Brampton to add to the onward march of civilization. And for that reason I say congratulate him, a round of applause for him, ladies and gentlemen. I believe with this, and I believe I pay tribute to Edward Oliver LeBlanc, and we are all LeBlanc's children. I was born in '61. I was born on January 1st, 1961. On January 17th, 1961, Edward Oliver Leblanc was to sweep into power. And this is a story that's been with my family, and I share it for the first time in public this evening. My father was the younger brother of H.L. Christian, who served in the cabinet of Edward Oliver Leblanc as Minister of Education and Health. And you'll read about that in the book. But my father says that he was going to work one morning, and Premier Leblanc, true to his, he wasn't Premier then, soon to be, but true to his quality and true to his sense of love for common people, gave my father a ride. My father, who had known Mr. Bertrand, who's the father-in-law of Mr. Andre, way back in Portsmouth in the early days, he'd known Mr. Leblanc, he'd known Frank Barron, who was chief minister, said, Mr. Leblanc, you know, you're going up against this guy, you know, I don't think you're going to win. And Mr. Leblanc said to him, well, Christian, just wait and you'll see. And 7 days later, Mr. Leblanc won that election that no one thought he could have won. And so it's almost a great irony that those of us who were schooled in the years, like Mr. Andre, that Mr. Leblanc was in power. Mr. Leblanc did aspects of Dominican history. He did Diez Dominica, the first magazine in which I saw Dominicans in color. First magazine that I read about Dominica, because you must understand, as the good professor said, in those days in the Caribbean, everything you read came from
Britain,
England, came from outside. It's about someone else's history, someone else's context, someone else's story. And so it is a tribute to the life of Premier Leblanc that his work was not in vain, because through us and through what we continue to do, as Irvin has done, aided by his beautiful wife and his 2 daughters, continue that legacy of putting our history in print so that in fact it can resound through the ages. Thank him, thank you, God bless him, and may we receive him. Irvin, please.